From the far reaches of the Milky Way galaxy, it's Retro Nerd Girl with a film review for you. Today, I'll be reviewing the movie Superbad, released in 2007, starring Michael Cera, Jonah Hill, and Christopher Mintz-Plasse. Directed by Greg Mottola. The synopsis is, Seth, Evan, and Fogle are three awkward young high school boys set out on a wild adventure to provide drinks for a party where they can finally get the girls that they've been after all school year. The story. Writers Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg started this script when they were just 13 years old because they just wanted to see if they could write a movie. It's no coincidence that the lead characters, Seth and Evan, are named after them. According to the DVD commentary, the writers actually did a few of the antics that happened in the film when they were in high school. However, this film is not biographical. It's a hypothetical creation loosely based on the writers and their friend Sam Fogle, almost set in a fantasy situation where each one gets a girl and endures a wild night of adventure. The story falls in the tradition of the following antics and fantasies of pubescent boys seen in teen movies like Meatballs, released in 1979, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, released in 1982, Porky's, released in 1982, and American Pie, released in 1999. This 2017 movie is not your average teen movie, though, because at the very core of its unoriginal concept of dweebs redeeming themselves for one amazing night is the originality to be as unpredictable as possible, and that difference makes this quite a brilliant film. Now, the pacing. At an hour and 53 minutes, the film is way too long. It's really good, but it's too long for me. Some parts really play out like an unedited documentary, showing you play by play what people are doing in real time. Now, the challenge. The challenge is very interesting because there are a lot of challenges in the story, but there aren't any. And I'm going to probably get to go into all of that when I talk about the empathy, because it really stems around all the situations that the boys get themselves into. Now, the empathy. Well, let's start with Fogle. Okay, because he's pretty much your typical geek that tries way too hard to make friends. And even among his feeble clique of just Seth and Evan, he's still an outsider fighting tooth and nail for acceptance. He tells his friends that he is going to get this fake ID, which actually gives them the great idea to get alcohol for a party that's happening. Now, he is pressured into it because he's kind of desperate for their friendship, but to his benefit, he finally finds the acceptance that he seeks in two compassionate police officers that take a liking to him. Now, the two officers are Officer Michaels and Officer Slater, who answer a call at a liquor store where a robbery has just occurred. And among the witnesses happens to be McLovin, Fogle's alias, as he is trying to buy drinks for his friends. At first you think that the cops are stupid for believing that Fogle is McLovin. But then you discover that they are really completely aware of what's going on at the liquor store. And, through McLovin, they're able to kind of vindicate their own memories of being awkward teens. And it kind of brings a very refreshing twist. Instead of portraying adults or authority figures as total jerks, as many teen movies often do, these adults are actually quite cool and want to help. Now we come to Seth, who is probably what I would believe is the most unlikable of the three boys. He's kind of cute though sometimes, but most of the times he's wildly offensive and socially inept. But at the same breath, there are these moments, these glimpses of a really sensitive and scared guy trying to peek through. And so he's actually a person who you grow to like more and more throughout the film. He's the classic case of a person being their own enemy, because a lot of the problems that happen in the movie or challenges that happen in the movie really stem from his character. And one of the most off-putting things about his character is that he is so mean to his friends. I mean, these are his only friends. He has absolutely no consideration for them, and he treats them like garbage. And you get the sense that if he doesn't straighten up his act, he'll eventually lose the friends that he does have. So we've come to kind of a precipice in his life. He's got to make a serious change. And, you know, even though he's a jerk, you don't really want that to happen to him, because, again, you can see that there is a sensitive and sweet side to him. With the occurrence of a chance pairing with his crush, Jules, and news of Fogle's acquisition of a fake ID, this is the catalyst for the adventure in the film, because, of course, Seth couldn't help bragging to Jules that he could bring alcohol to the party that night. And so, you know, that's pretty much typical Seth. And there's also another piece in the story which I loved, was that Seth doesn't really know much about women. And he also has a great deal of low self-esteem. So he thinks that if he can get them drunk, maybe they'll find him attractive. Jules, the girl that he's really interested in, doesn't drink, and she kind of teaches him that he should be a little bit more courageous about being in touch with his romantic side. So I think that was kind of a nice message to all the guys in the audience. And the last of the three friends is Evan, who really honestly tries to be a decent person, but he's so wrapped up in Seth's delusions that no matter how much he protests, he's just dragged into all of his mess, which is... you want to nudge him and say, hey, you kind of don't deserve this, and you can be all on your own. He even tells Seth in the story that Seth is holding him back, and he is holding him back, because Seth is trying to hold on to his boyhood as much as possible. He does not want to let go of high school, and he doesn't want to face the fact that their world is going to change once they graduate from high school and go to college. Evan sets his sight on a girl named Becca, and you really get the sense that he'd really like to have a meaningful relationship with her, and he really respects her. For him, it's not just about sex, but a really deep connection to a special person. And of course, that is, quite endearing. Where Seth is inconsiderate, Evan is extremely considerate and often offers a voice of reason, while, Seth is ready to jump into the next ridiculous thing. So it's really kind of cool to see the juxtaposition of the two characters and how well they play off of each other. And I really enjoyed the two of them together. They have a very incredible story as friends. Now, the technical aspects. Now, one of the things I really like about this film is that the year is pretty ambiguous. If feels modern. They're using cell phones, but the music and the clothes and even the coloring of the film feels very 1970s. The title was inspired by a lot of the black exploitation films like Foxy Brown, released in 1974, where the term Superbad was used a lot and psychedelic graphics were applied to many of the posters. And even the 1970s version of the Columbia Pictures logo was shown at the beginning of the film instead of the 2000s version. The film has many modern day references in pop culture prior to the 70s, as well as giving us a feeling of timelessness, such as a reference to a lunchbox for the Real Ghostbusters TV series, which was first aired in 1986. Now the performances. The performances are really great. Jonah Hill, Michael Cera were just awesome, and they performed with such a very naturalistic and organic flair, which I very much appreciated. And you could really see, I think at that point, that these guys are going to have bright futures as actors. Now Christopher Mintz-Plasse knocked it out the ballpark in his very first film role, being plucked from high school to play the role of McLovin without any prior acting experience. What a fantastic job. Now the best part of the film. The best part of the film for me was when Seth carries Evan out of a party being raided by the cops. It was quite a surprise to see how selfless he could be if he only showed his emotions authentically. And I think from that point to the end of the film really hit a special note with the audience and really touched me particularly in a very special way. I really felt like this movie was setting itself apart from all the very many other teen movies by showing us something so very tender and soft and touching amongst two male friends. The ending is just really brilliant. And then, it's then that you realize that the two friends who've been bickering throughout the whole film are actually dealing with this incredible grief and possibility of losing each other after graduation. They would see each other every day and hang out every weekend, but once they enter college, that closeness will be gone, and it hurts. It really, really hurts. My enjoyment. Now, when I saw the trailer and I saw the poster for this movie, I just thought I would not like it. It's not my kind of movie, I said to myself. And I was just like, I'm not going to be able to relate to it. But on the contrary, I related to it a lot. And I thought it was extremely charming. If you're planning to watch this film, just know that there's a lot of brutal swearing and sexual language within a lot of truly wicked humor. It's really, really brutally funny stuff. And if you're not into that kind of thing, just bypass it. I don't mind it because I've heard a lot of locker room talk amongst girls and locker room talk amongst guys. I've heard it all. And if it's not your cup of tea, I totally understand. Oh, sorry, but when I found out about curse words as a little teenager, my God, you couldn't stop me from saying a curse word when my mom wasn't around. So it was like, yay, a curse word? Let's say as many as possible. Let's really get gross with it. It's just one of those things that I think is natural, and I'm so glad to see it on screen. And behind all the laughs or the disgust, whichever one you categorize the jokes, there's a coming of age story here, that you would typically find in a teen movie. But what was really cool is that there was a coming of age for the adults, the police officers in the story, who kind of have their own story arc, and this event kind of puts some closure to their boyhood feelings, kind of helping to see off the next generation in Fogle. And Fogle grows into his manhood without the attachment of his school friends, establishing himself as his own man. Evan and Seth share a very special moment of closure together, revealing their true love and respect for one another as friends. And to finalize the closure, each walks in the opposite direction from the other, still as friends. So, yeah, I didn't think I was gonna like it, but I love it. My rating is an 8.3. Well, that sums up my review. I hoped you liked it. This is Retro Nerd Girl signing off. Take care, movie lovers. I'm off to my next review.